You were not born to suffer through life. You were not created to scramble for pennies, to beg for attention, to walk the earth in quiet confusion, wondering why abundance always seems to belong to someone else. You were created to prosper. But let me be clear from the beginning. Not all men will, not because God made them less, but because they refuse to obey the law of increase. They reject the very principles that would make them rich, fulfilled, powerful, and useful. I have seen men cry out for miracles while breaking every law that miracles obey. I have seen men curse heaven for their poverty while spending their lives in drift, disobedience, and mental laziness. I have seen men shake their fists at God, asking why life is so unfair, while refusing to take command of the power they were given at birth. Let me ask you, will you be one of them? If you are waiting for permission to prosper, this is it. If you are waiting for a sign to step into your power, this is it. If you are searching for a reason to believe again, this message is it. But I warn you, if you ignore what follows, if you treat this as mere motivation, if you go back to your familiar excuses, fears, and comfort, you will suffer the consequences. Not by my hand, not even by the hand of God, but by the fixed, unchanging law that governs every man's increase or decline. Let me tell you the story of a man I once knew. He was intelligent, talented. Everyone believed he had a future full of greatness. But he waited, always waited, said he was preying on it, said he was waiting for the right season, said he was letting God open the door, and so he sat. 10 years passed. His fire dimmed, his health declined, his family looked elsewhere for leadership. The man who could have built empires became a whisper, not because he lacked favor, but because he lacked decision. I tell you this now, God gives potential, but it is the man who must obey. On the other hand, I once met a poor boy in Pennsylvania who believed the words of an old book that said, "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." And though he had no education, no inheritance, and no special advantages, he worked with intensity, studied daily, read every success principle he could get his hands on, and applied them without apology. He later became known as Andrew Carnegie. You see the difference? It was not chance. It was not accident. It was not fate. It was obedience. That is what this message is about. Not just prosperity, but divine alignment. Not just riches, but the right to riches, earned by faith, obedience, definite purpose, and useful service. If you listen, truly listen, you will leave this moment with a spiritual blueprint for prosperity that no man, no economy, and no devil can take from you. You will walk forward with command, with purpose, with law in your mind and faith in your blood. But if you ignore this, if you drift, delay, argue, or rationalize, you will fall victim to the silent curse that destroys more men than war. A life half-lived, a potential never realized, a soul that looked like it was waiting on God when God was waiting on you. Say this now: I was created to prosper, and I will obey the law that makes it so. I refuse to live beneath the calling of my own design. I walk in decision, and I expect divine increase. Now sit up straight. Wipe the sleep from your soul. This is not inspiration. This is instruction. These are not ideas. These are laws. They do not care how you feel. They respond only to how you act. You were created to prosper, but the gates will not open themselves. You must now decide. Will you walk the divine path or wander into regret? The next part begins the journey. Walk with me. You were not born to struggle. You were born to prosper. That is the truth the world will never teach you, and yet it is the only truth worth building a life upon. You were created by infinite intelligence, not to beg, not to drift, not to wonder, but to create, to command, and to expand. Every soul is born with a divine imprint of abundance, but not all activate it. Not all obey the laws that unlock it. They live in lack, not because they must, but because they refuse to believe the first law of prosperity, that they were made by a Creator who intends for them to increase. Most men do not live in poverty because they are lazy. They live in poverty because they are ignorant of law. They are blind to the invisible principles that govern increase. They believe in luck, in favoritism, in fate, but not in divine law. And so they drift decade after decade, never claiming what is already theirs. Say this aloud: God created me to prosper in thought, in deed, in riches, and in purpose. Say it with conviction. Say it until your blood believes it, because if you do not say it, the world will tell you otherwise. And if you do not claim it, you will never hold it. Infinite intelligence does not create accidents. There is not one tree, one star, one mountain, or one heartbeat in this universe that exists without intention. So tell me, do you think you were created to be the exception? You were made with precision for a purpose, and that purpose includes prosperity. Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men in history, did not choose men based on credentials or appearance. He sought those with definiteness of purpose, belief in their own ability, and a willingness to work under divine law. He did not ask if they were lucky. He asked if they were committed. You must now accept that prosperity is not luck, it is law. Just as gravity pulls objects downward, so does obedience to divine principle pull prosperity into your life. And just as you would not jump from a building expecting to float, you must not disobey spiritual law and expect to rise. Prosperity is God's natural order. Everywhere you look, abundance, forests that multiply, oceans that overflow, life that renews itself daily. Why would man be the only creature sentenced to poverty? He is not. He is the only creature capable of choosing it. God's plan is always one of increase, spiritually, mentally, financially, emotionally. Every law points toward expansion, but it is man's belief, or lack of belief, that either opens or closes the flow. No man receives more than he is willing to accept. To deny your calling to prosper is to resist God Himself. It is to reject the hand that created you. It is to live beneath your purpose and die with your song unsung. And I tell you now, that is not humility. That is rebellion disguised as modesty. You were created with power, but that power must be activated. Power unused is power lost, and power denied is potential aborted. Say it again. I was created to prosper. And now say, and I will no longer resist what God has ordained for me. This is not a message of greed. It is a message of obedience. Obedience to the law of cause and effect. Obedience to the law of definite purpose. Obedience to the command that says, be fruitful, multiply, and take dominion. If you believe that God is glorified by your weakness, you do not understand Him. God is glorified when a man walks in purpose, when a man provides for his family, when a man gives more than he receives, when a man turns talent into service and service into wealth and wealth into good. There is no spiritual virtue in lack. There is no holiness in fear. There is no divine applause for the man who hides his gift beneath the soil of indecision. The only reward for the unfaithful steward is loss. And the only reward for drift is regret. Look around you. Every structure built by man began first in the mind, and every mind was given by God. So I ask you, what will you do with yours? Will you use it to complain or to command? Will you shrink from greatness or rise into the call? Do not mistake trials for curses. Life will test you, but never to destroy you, only to prepare you, only to strengthen the vessel that must carry the treasure. The diamonds of destiny are hidden in the mines of discipline and obedience. Today begins your awakening. From this moment forward, you no longer seek prosperity. You realize it has been seeking you, but it waits for your obedience. It waits for your belief. It waits for your decision. You were created to prosper, and the only thing left standing between you and the life ordained for you is your refusal to accept that truth as law. No more, no delay, no apology, no drifting. Now say it with finality. I am the man who obeys divine law. I am the man who walks with purpose. I am the man who will prosper because I was created to do so. Poverty of the soul begins not with empty pockets, but with misalignment. The man who is poor in spirit, in belief, in discipline, and in purpose is already walking in rebellion against the very laws that would make him great. And worst of all, he often does not know it. Men assume that rebellion looks like violence or crime. No, rebellion often looks like silence, delay, excuse, avoidance. It wears the mask of playing it safe. But underneath it, the truth is visible. The man is resisting the divine will for his increase. Infinite intelligence governs all things by fixed law, not favoritism, not chaos, not coincidence. You are either in harmony with that law or in conflict with it. And the measure of your prosperity, inner and outer, tells you which one it is. You do not have to be judged by man to suffer. When you drift, you are judged by consequence. Obedience to the law brings increase. Disobedience brings decline. This is not punishment. It is precision. This is not cruelty. It is cause and effect. Say now, I bring my life into harmony with divine increase. And speak it until your habits follow. Speak it until your thoughts match it. Speak it until it becomes your daily creed. Because nothing multiplies faster than a man aligned with spiritual law. Henry Ford was not the most educated man of his time, nor the most polished, but he obeyed the law of useful service, of innovation, of persistence. And the result? The world rearranged itself around his vision. He did not wait for favor. He activated it through law. You must break this lie once and for all, that God is glorified by poverty, that he smiles upon your limitation, that he honors your fear. This belief has crippled generations. God is glorified by your obedience, your productivity, your service, and your dominion. The laws of prosperity are not hidden. They are available to every man. Desire, faith, action, planning, persistence. Ignore them, and you suffer. Obey them, and you rise. There is no middle ground. There is only decision or drift. Drift is unconscious rebellion. It is the refusal to think, to plan, to act, to believe. It is the quiet sin of passivity, dressed in polite manners and spiritual-sounding words. And it is more deadly than failure because it pretends to be safe. The man who drifts may go to work. He may attend church. He may smile at his neighbor. But inside he is wandering. He lives without vision, without urgency, without faith. And his life, however polite, is rebellion in disguise. If your days are consumed by reaction and not creation, you are not aligned. If your thoughts are filled with fear, doubt, and gossip, you are not aligned. If your actions are vague, scattered, and delayed, you are not aligned. Command this now. I return my life to order. I align my habits with the law of success. I obey God by structuring my mind, disciplining my days, and deciding with finality. Because the man who cooperates with divine law becomes a magnet. His thoughts attract provision. His actions pull results. His spirit glows with fire. He does not chase opportunity. Opportunity seeks him out. The world becomes your servant when you become a servant of law, not the law of man, the law of growth, the law of discipline, the law of faith, the law of definite purpose. These are eternal. These are divine. These are the source of all sustainable wealth. Do not wait for miracles. The laws that produce miracles are already in your possession. But laws require application. A man who owns a seed but never plants it has no right to complain of hunger. And a man who hears truth but refuses to act has no right to cry for more. You are not suffering from lack. You are suffering from misalignment. You are not cursed. You are disconnected. The signal has not changed. Your receiver is filled with noise, and now you must clean it. Now you must tune in. Return to structure. Rise early. Read with purpose. Speak your chief aim. Write your plan. Guard your tongue. Sow service. And do it daily, without fail, without flair, without permission. The man who seeks to rise without order is a man who mocks divine design. Look at nature. Every season flows in sequence. Every river follows a path. Every sunrise comes with precision. And yet man, who is given choice, refuses structure and then curses God for his confusion. You were given the gift of freedom, but freedom without obedience is destruction. Freedom is not the absence of law. It is the power to choose which law you will obey. Choose now the law of drift or the law of destiny, the law of fear or the law of faith, the law of confusion or the law of clarity, the law of decline or the law of divine increase. Affirm it with strength. From this moment I obey divine law. I organize my days. I discipline my thoughts. I speak only what builds. I believe only what aligns. I live as one worthy of increase. The rebellious man pretends to be humble, but the obedient man proves himself by fruit, and fruit does not lie. It speaks loudly, publicly, without apology. Either your life produces it or it doesn't. You are not being punished. You are being warned, not by fear, but by truth. There is still time, but not much. You are either building alignment or drifting into regret. This message is not to shame you. It is to awaken you, to show you that prosperity is already within reach, but only if you walk in law, only if you submit your ego, only if you rise in obedience. God will not beg you to obey. The law will not bend to your emotions. The path is marked, the truth is written, and the decision is now yours. Will you walk in harmony or continue in rebellion? Choose now. Choose boldly, and the world will make room for the man who walks with God. No man ever received lasting prosperity by accident, and no man ever attracted sustained wealth while drifting. Prosperity comes to the man who is definite in purpose. It is the man who knows what he wants, who speaks it with fire, and moves toward it with discipline. He is the one God entrusts with increase. Definiteness of purpose is not just a success principle. It is a spiritual agreement. When you declare your purpose with clarity and intention, you enter into covenant with infinite intelligence. You signal to all of life that you are ready to command, ready to build, and ready to be held responsible. A man without a chief aim is like a ship without a rudder. He may drift for years and mistake movement for progress, but he arrives nowhere because he aimed nowhere. The world does not reward motion. It rewards direction. Say this now with conviction. I know what I want. I know what I will give to get it. I will persist until I possess it. Speak it until it burns. Speak it until it rewrites your subconscious mind. Because without definiteness, you are not a man. You are a shadow. God does not reward vague wishers. He rewards definite thinkers. He rewards the man who has thought through his vision, planned his steps, committed his will, and has staked his soul on fulfilling his purpose, no matter what. Charles M. Schwab was not the most technically gifted man in Andrew Carnegie's empire, but he rose higher than all the others. Why? Because he had clarity of aim, strength of conviction, and the ability to communicate vision. He was indispensable because he was definite. Prosperity begins where your vague hopes end. It begins the moment you decide, once and for all, what you will build, who you will serve, and what price you are willing to pay to manifest that decision into reality. Let us tie this to ancient instruction. Write the vision, make it plain that he may run who reads it. You are not meant to wander in confusion. You are meant to run in purpose. But the man who never writes his vision cannot walk in its power. Purpose is not a business plan. It is a sacred vow. It is a decision made between you and infinite intelligence, a line drawn in the sand of time that says, this is the life I will build, this is the service I will give, and this is the man I will become. You must choose now, and not weakly, not conditionally, not if it works. You must choose with finality. Decision sharpens the soul like steel sharpens the blade. Without it, your power leaks, your confidence shrinks, and the world ignores you. Take a blank page. Write at the top, my definite chief aim, and beneath it describe the future you are building, the wealth you will attract, the people you will serve, and the man you must become. And make it specific, vivid, measurable, emotional, divine. Then post it on your mirror. Speak it aloud every morning. Speak it again before you sleep. Speak it even when doubt whispers. Speak it when delay tempts. Speak it when nothing seems to move. Speak it until it becomes real. Your subconscious mind must be commanded, not entertained. It must be directed with certainty, not suggestions. And every day you read and speak your purpose, you are engraving it into the very soil of your destiny. To move without purpose is to delay the prosperity God already prepared for you. It is not that your blessings do not exist, it is that you have failed to give them a place to arrive. The airplane of your dream cannot land on the runway of confusion. Let me speak plainly. If you do not choose your aim, life will choose it for you. And life does not reward the man who drifts. It uses him. It tosses him between circumstances. It exhausts him. And when he is old, it leaves him wondering what could have been. But the man of purpose, he stands firm. He bends time. He multiplies energy. He makes the very air around him electric with decision. He speaks and others listen. He walks and doors open, because nature itself obeys the man who obeys his aim. This is the dividing line between failure and fulfillment. It is not talent. It is not fortune. It is not education. It is definiteness of purpose, backed by unshakable faith and daily organized effort. Say now, I choose my purpose with finality. I write it. I speak it. I obey it. And I will never return to the drifting life again. Your purpose is not small. Your purpose is not ordinary. It was assigned to you by infinite intelligence, and it is your sacred duty to fulfill it with honor. Do not compare it. Do not delay it. Do not apologize for it. Live it. Every moment you hesitate, a weaker version of you survives. But every moment you act in purpose, a greater version of you rises. Let this be the moment that divides the man you were from the man you were born to become. The world is not waiting for more drifters. It is starving for men of purpose, men who walk into a room and bring vision, men who speak and shake mountains, men who wake up knowing exactly what must be done and do it. You can be that man. You were designed to be that man, but you must now decide. Decide with finality, and then act relentlessly, because until you do, all the faith, all the law, all the opportunity in the world will sit silently by, waiting for you to speak your first command. So speak it, write it, obey it, and let your life be the loudest declaration of divine purpose the world has ever seen. Faith is not a soft thing. It is not a whisper or a wish. It is power. It is fire. It is the currency of creation, and the man who possesses it can walk through storms, tear down delay, and summon invisible forces to his aid. Faith is not a feeling. It is a spiritual command. You must now understand God does not respond to doubt. He does not reward hesitation. He does not move on behalf of a man who questions his own worth. But when he hears faith, real, unshakable, spoken as fact faith, then the heavens answer. Faith is not saying, I believe once on Sunday and hoping things will change. Faith is speaking your definite chief aim aloud daily, vividly, persistently, and with emotion. It is visualizing your desire as though it were already completed. Say this now. I speak as if it is done. I walk as if it is mine. I think as one who already has it. These are not empty affirmations. These are commands to the subconscious, written in the divine tongue of repetition and emotion. Look to Edison. When the world laughed, when science mocked, when results delayed, he pressed forward. Over 1,000 failures, and still he said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Why? Because he had faith. He saw the light before the bulb ever burned. He believed the outcome before the evidence appeared. And because of that belief, because of that persistence born from faith, he bent the world to his vision. That is the power of true faith. Let me break the illusion. Wishing is not faith. Hope is not faith. Prayer without belief is not faith. Faith is made of thought, word, decision, and action, bound together by repetition and emotional intensity. Without that, your belief has no root. Every time you speak your chief aim aloud with feeling, you are watering that root. You are planting divine instruction into the soil of your mind. And what grows in the mind will always show in your life. Always. You must now make autosuggestion your servant. Autosuggestion is the act of feeding your subconscious the words and visions of faith until they take root and become law. Repeat it daily. Repeat it emotionally. Repeat it with purpose. Say aloud, I do not beg, I declare. I do not hope, I believe. I do not wait, I prepare. Because the man who prepares before the evidence arrives is the man who knows he will soon possess it. Do you see now? Doubt is not simply human weakness, it is spiritual disobedience. To doubt the promise of your prosperity is to accuse infinite intelligence of failure. It is to say, God, I do not trust the law you built into my soul. And fear? Fear is nothing but faith in evil. It is a decision to believe in decline instead of increase, to believe in failure instead of favor. And the man who fears does not lack information. He lacks obedience to divine truth. You must choose daily. You must say, I will no longer serve fear. I will no longer obey doubt. I will no longer lend my mind to thoughts that betray my future. This is not suggestion. This is command. Faith is built by what you say and what you do. If your words are strong but your actions are weak, your faith will wither. But if your speech matches your walk, if your thoughts match your rituals, then your faith will become a mighty structure. Speak your aim aloud every morning, every night. Write it, picture it, feel it. Let the mind soak in its reality until it begins to attract its own kind, ideas, people, opportunity, favor. And when nothing seems to happen, believe harder. Because delay is not denial. The seed does not sprout because you stare at it. It sprouts because you water it in faith and give it time to rise. Tell yourself, the results are catching up to my belief. Tell yourself, every word I speak is creating a future I will soon walk into. Tell yourself, I do not require proof to believe, I require belief to create proof. When your mind believes, the universe obeys, not because you are magical, but because you are finally aligned with the law that commands results. That law is faith. It is the law that built every fortune, raised every leader, and transformed every life that once looked hopeless. Faith is the gold standard of heaven and earth. And you must earn it, not with coin, but with conviction. So I ask you now, will you repeat your aim today as if it were fact? Will you walk today as if the outcome were guaranteed? Will you speak today not as one asking for permission, but as one sent on assignment? If you will, then I say unto you, your future is already secured. Your path is already cleared. And the provision you seek has already been prepared, because you have chosen to believe. Say it one more time, slowly, with power. I am the man who gets what he believes. I see it, I speak it, I receive it. Faith is my native tongue, and I will not be silent. Then get up and live like it. You will never be blessed with lasting prosperity by the mere wishing for it, nor by the clamor of the crowd demanding it. Prosperity is earned. It is drawn to the man or woman who renders useful service above what is expected, in the spirit of faith and definiteness of purpose. Let me now show you the exact law by which prosperity obeys the hand of service. The richest men in the world were not made rich by accident, nor inheritance alone, but by the organized, persistent rendering of more service than they were paid for. That is the eternal secret. Carnegie, who began with no fortune and no friends, offered more value than he asked for, and the law of increasing returns gave him more in return than he ever expected. There is a divine law that governs compensation. The more you give with definiteness, joy, and excellence, the more will return to you multiplied. But if you wait to be paid first, if you render service with resentment or only the minimum effort, you have already written your failure. There is no escaping the law of seed and harvest. You sow poor seed, you reap a poor harvest. Henry Ford understood this law better than any of his competitors. While they raised their prices and cut wages, he reversed the system. He paid his workers more, offered the public more for less, and built a machine of service so vast it carried him to wealth and honor. Ask yourself, have you ever built your service that way? Let this be a lesson etched into your memory. Prosperity follows the man who initiates useful service, who serves not because he is forced, but because he chooses to offer the best of himself before asking anything in return. It is the attitude of the heart that magnetizes success. I ask you plainly, are you the type who says, "They don't pay me enough to do that"? Then I tell you, you have damned your own progress. You will stay where you are, chained by your own belief. But if you say, "Let me do this with excellence, and I trust that reward will find me," then success has already begun to stir beneath your feet. The world is watching always. People do not always say it aloud, but they recognize greatness when it appears. Render useful service, more and better than what is paid for, and you will begin to stand out as one who carries the mark of destiny. Let me repeat to you what Emerson taught, and I learned from personal pain and trial. If you serve an ungrateful master, serve him the more. Put God in your debt. Every stroke shall be repaid. This is the law that rules all success. If you withhold service, your compensation will be withheld. If you give abundantly, life will outgive you. There was a woman I once knew, a stenographer, earning $15 a week, but she formed the habit of doing more work than required, better than was expected. Within a few short years, she was earning over $100,000 annually from the lecture platform. What changed? Not her education, not her circumstances. It was her obedience to the law of service before reward. Let the lazy man scoff. Let the cynic mock. But the truth remains. God cannot be mocked. That which a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Sow little, reap little. Sow complaints, reap scarcity. But if you sow faith, diligence, excellence, and extra effort, the invisible gears of abundance will begin to move in your favor. I once delivered a lecture and refused the fee. The people were so moved by my willingness to give without asking that they subscribed to my magazine in such great numbers that I made 50 times more than the original sum. Why? Because the law was set into motion. Give more, expect less, and you shall receive more than you expected. What does this mean for you today? It means you must stop counting the hours, stop counting the coins, stop asking, "What do I get?" and begin asking, "What can I give?" Every man I have studied who rose from obscurity to fortune followed this pattern. He did not climb the mountain by clinging to the pay stub. He rose because he served first. You may say, "But the world is unfair." Yes, it is, and that is your opportunity. Because most men are not willing to give more, your decision to do so instantly places you above them. In times of economic crisis, those who only do the minimum are the first to be discarded. But those who go the extra mile, they are irreplaceable. Every employer, whether they say it or not, is searching for one thing, a mind that will serve without excuse. You do not have to wait to be chosen. The moment you begin rendering useful service with definiteness, enthusiasm, and faith, the world begins choosing you. One by one, doors open. Invisible hands move. Coincidences become divine appointments. I have seen men move from clerk to partner, from street vendor to owner, from messenger boy to financier, not because of genius, but because they outserved everyone else. They rose by merit of performance, and God Himself honored it. Do you understand what this means? It means you are the architect of your income. You determine the ceiling, not your employer, not the economy, not even the government. The quality and quantity of your service, this is your wealth thermostat. Increase it, and you must be paid more. Delay it, and life will delay your prosperity. Every morning you should awaken and say aloud, I render useful service today, willingly, abundantly, and with excellence. I give more than I am paid for, and I am paid more than I give. I rise by lifting others. I attract wealth by obedience to this law. Repeat this affirmation until it becomes part of your very soul. I render more service than I am paid for. I rise by lifting others. I am a man of action, faith, and generosity. Make these your daily bread and watch as the heavens respond. I challenge you, yes, I dare you, to test this law. For 30 days, render service that exceeds what is expected. Help someone without asking for anything. Do your work as if you already owned the company. And keep silent about your sacrifice. Do it in faith, in obedience, in quiet power. You will be amazed how swiftly results arrive. In the final accounting of all things, no act of service goes unpaid. It may not come from where you expected, but it will come, and it will be multiplied if given in faith and humility. This is God's economy. Let me show you something deeper still. When you render useful service, your mind expands, your faith deepens, your attention sharpens, and new ideas, new relationships, new opportunities, these begin to orbit around you like bees to nectar. You become a magnet for prosperity. Why? Because the world hungers for usefulness, for character, for value. And when you become the embodiment of value, wealth must obey you. Even in your darkest hour, remember this: useful service is the ladder. You can be buried in debt, crushed by loss, forgotten by friends, but if you still offer something valuable and do it faithfully, you are rising again step by step without even knowing it. Let me leave you with this. I have failed. I have lost. I have tasted the dust of bankruptcy. But I always rose again by rendering more service than I was paid for. When the world had closed its doors to me, I opened the door of my own spirit and said, give first, give more, give better. Do not be deceived by the illusion of quick riches. You cannot receive what you have not earned, but if you earn it with joy and persistence, you shall receive compound interest upon compound interest. That is the divine path. That is the law of prosperity. And it begins with you. You say you have faith. You say you believe in infinite intelligence. You speak of prayer and purpose and progress. But I say, where is your discipline? For discipline is the physical evidence of belief. It is the daily proof that your faith is real, not fantasy. To say you believe and yet to live without order, structure, and obedience is to lie to your own soul. Faith that does not command the body is no faith at all. You cannot drift through life and expect to receive the rewards meant for the definite. The man of true faith does not wait for inspiration to act. He acts and trusts that inspiration will meet him at the hour of action. He does not wait to feel like working. He works. He does not wait to feel confident. He decides. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you must construct. And I tell you, the blueprint of that construction is faith. If you believe that God has placed you on this earth for a purpose, then rise each morning and act like it. March through your day as if heaven itself had appointed your tasks. There are no idle hours in the life of a man who believes. There are no wasted moments, for every second is a divine trust. To squander your time is to spit in the face of providence. To drift is to deny the gift of your own mind. The Creator gave you a brain. Use it. The Creator gave you time. Guard it. The Creator gave you purpose. Pursue it. I have studied the men who moved nations. I have spoken with those who ruled industry. And not one of them achieved greatness without iron discipline. Andrew Carnegie made millions not through cleverness, but through precision. He scheduled his minutes. He trained his mind to obey. He mastered delay and bent procrastination underfoot. Thomas Edison, what of him? Did he build the electric light by hoping? No, he tried and failed over 10,000 times. And each time he tried again, not because he was always motivated, but because he was disciplined. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline is forever. A man cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve faith and laziness. You cannot serve purpose and comfort. You must choose. And I say this to you plainly. If your days are without structure, your belief is without strength, if your will is weak, your faith is imaginary. True faith sharpens a man's will. It makes him rise early, speak clearly, walk purposefully. It makes him willing to suffer hardship. It makes him capable of ignoring distraction. Faith does not beg for ease. It commands the spirit to endure. Now hear me well. Discipline begins where comfort ends. Every excuse you allow is a step away from your destiny. Every compromise with laziness is a denial of your future. The man who disciplines his habits controls his fate. The man who obeys his purpose commands his future. Repeat after me. I am not a slave to comfort. I am the master of my time. I obey the call of purpose. I rise when I do not feel like it. I act when I am afraid. I command my days with faith and discipline. There is no greatness in comfort. There is no transformation in ease. Think of Abraham Lincoln. Did he live a life of luxury? No, he walked through tragedy, failure, ridicule, and loss. But he obeyed the inner voice. He moved with discipline, and that is why history remembers him. Discipline is the price of freedom. Men who lack discipline must beg others to lead them. They are tossed like leaves in the wind, moved by circumstances, not by purpose. But you are not a leaf. You are the seed of God's divine plan. You were created to prosper, but you must obey the law of action. And action is not a one-time event. It is repetition. It is rhythm. It is ritual. When you rise at the same hour, think the same thoughts, speak the same affirmations, execute the same purpose, day after day, you become a force. You become unstoppable. Not because you are strong, but because you are consistent. Let others drift. Let others follow pleasure. Let others live like reeds in the wind. You shall walk like a pillar. You shall stand firm. You shall become a man of steel will and golden purpose. Because you know that faith without discipline is a dream, but faith with discipline is destiny. Let me tell you what will happen if you ignore this truth. You will continue to wake up tired. You will continue to chase whims. You will continue to start and never finish. You will fall for every temptation. You will fail in silence and blame everyone but yourself. Your mind will rot in idleness. Your body will wither in laziness. Your name will be forgotten. And worst of all, you will know deep within your soul that you were meant for more. And that knowledge will torture you. That is the hell reserved for the undisciplined. But if you choose the harder road, if you choose the disciplined life, then I promise you, the gates of prosperity will open. You will see yourself change. You will feel power course through your blood. You will rise before others and build what others only wish for. You will become a magnet for opportunity, for you will finally be worthy of it. And that is the word I give you now, worthiness. Discipline makes you worthy, worthy of wealth, worthy of leadership, worthy of trust, worthy of divine favor. You do not earn heaven's riches with empty prayers. You earn them with action. You earn them with commitment. You earn them by making your life a sermon of discipline, spoken not with your mouth, but with your behavior. So ask yourself now, do you believe? Then show it, prove it, with your morning routine, with your use of time, with your words, with your silence, with your action in the face of fear, with your perseverance in the face of delay. Discipline does not come all at once. It is forged like steel, first with fire, then with strike after strike after strike. You must become a blacksmith of your own mind. Hammer it, shape it, cool it, repeat. Do not trust feelings, trust purpose. Do not chase mood, chase mission. Feelings are like wind. Discipline is the anchor, and the man who anchors himself in daily discipline shall never be lost at sea. Now I give you this charge: put your schedule on the wall. Declare your standards aloud. Practice your habits with reverence, for they are sacred. Read your chief aim twice daily. Let no day pass without taking action. And if you fail, rise instantly. Never excuse, never retreat. Never betray your belief by laziness again. Say this with me. My belief is made flesh in my behavior. My faith is revealed in my discipline. I was created to prosper, and I obey the laws that lead to prosperity. I do not wait, I act. I do not drift, I decide. I do not wish, I work. God rewards the diligent. Life bows to the determined. Heaven honors the disciplined. And I say again, discipline is the living proof that faith is real. Now move forward. Let your every action proclaim what you believe. Let your schedule be your testimony. Let your obedience be your sermon. Let your order be your worship. Let your discipline be your glory. For in discipline your destiny is fulfilled. You may believe your future lies in your faith, your work, or your ideas, but I tell you plainly, your associations are the gatekeepers of your prosperity. The men you walk with, the voices you hear, the minds you permit to speak into your life, these determine whether your spirit ascends or decays. God has ordained that no man shall rise alone. Even the greatest must lean on other minds. This is not weakness, it is law. The mastermind principle is spiritual. It is the joining of two or more minds in harmony toward a definite purpose. When such unity is formed, a third, more powerful mind is created, greater than the sum of its parts. Edison did not build his inventions alone. He worked in concentrated fellowship with men of similar belief and tireless energy. Henry Ford leaned on spiritual advisors and strategists who reinforced his vision. Carnegie gathered the sharpest thinkers, men of discipline and loyalty, and together they created something no single man could build. This is not social advice, this is spiritual law. The men you associate with form a spiritual agreement. If they drift, you will drift. If they doubt, you will delay. If they mock your vision, you will shrink in silence. This is why so many with potential never rise. They are chained to mediocrity by their company. Say this now. I choose only voices that multiply my vision. I walk with those who are called to rise. I speak my future only to the faithful. This is not arrogance. It is obedience to spiritual truth. If you speak your dream to the blind, they will curse it. If you share your plans with the faithless, they will poison it. God never calls a man to purpose without calling him away from the crowd. Abraham was told to leave his father's house. Jesus separated himself from the multitudes to pray. Every man of destiny must guard his environment with vigilance. And let me be clear, you do not need many. You need the right few. One aligned friend is worth more than 50 spectators. Two minds in harmony with divine law can do more in 90 days than 1,000 men in confusion can do in a decade. Find one man, just one, who believes in your definite chief aim. Share your vision. Commit to sharpening each other daily. Read together. Speak your aims aloud. Hold each other to account. This is your mastermind, and it is sacred. Let others mock you. Let them call you obsessed, intense, or strange. The world mocks what it does not understand. But those who walk the divine path are not concerned with popularity. They are concerned with fruitfulness. You must now conduct an inventory of association. Who are the 5 minds you spend the most time with? Do they challenge your mediocrity or comfort it? Do they fuel your vision or drain it? Do they walk with purpose or wander in complaint? If you find any man in your circle who speaks against growth, mocks faith, laughs at discipline, or defends failure, cut the tie. Not with bitterness, but with clarity. Not with hatred, but with decision. Your future demands it. Say this aloud. I do not speak my vision to the blind. I do not explain myself to the drifting. I protect the fire of my purpose with silence and select fellowship. This is your sacred responsibility. You are either forming a master mind or you are submitting to the master lie. That you can rise while surrounded by voices of doubt. You cannot. That is rebellion against spiritual order. Remember this story. There was a man, brilliant and capable, but he kept company with weak-willed flatterers. Every time he began to rise, they sowed seeds of hesitation. They questioned his every move. They laughed at his plans. And though he had more skill than them all, he never escaped his circle. He died unknown, not for lack of ability, but for lack of courage to change his environment. Contrast him with another. A poor boy, surrounded by failure, left his village, found men who believed in discipline and vision. He served them, learned from them, and became one of the richest men in America. His name, Andrew Carnegie. What separated them? Not IQ, not inheritance, not luck, association. One refused to break free, the other refused to settle, and one became legend. Hear me now. If you walk with the wise, you shall become wise. But if you walk with fools, your destiny will rot in laughter and idle speech. This is not suggestion, this is law. Choose your circle as if your life depends on it, because it does. Your environment will either make your faith grow or die. Your conversations will either strengthen your belief or drown it. And your mastermind will either birth your future or bury it. Now I give you a challenge. For the next 30 days, speak only to those who are definite in purpose, disciplined in habit, and honorable in spirit. Limit conversations to those who walk with vision. Watch how your energy changes. Watch how your mind sharpens. Watch how favor begins to flow. And do not wait for perfect people. Wait for committed ones. Do not search for genius. Search for conviction. The mastermind is not about brilliance. It is about harmony and purpose and spirit. One mind sharpens another. Say this now. I am joined to minds of power, purpose, and faith. Together we rise. Together we build. Together we obey the law of increase. This affirmation will become your sword and your shield. Use it. You are no longer a casual friend. You are a covenant man. You do not entertain fools. You do not mingle with mockers. You do not laugh at small thinking. You walk with kings, even if they are not yet crowned, because your spirit recognizes purpose when it sees it. God blesses unity. God empowers partnership. God multiplies where there is agreement. But he cannot multiply the scattered, the disjointed, the confused. Find your circle. Build your altar. Speak your aim aloud in the presence of those who believe, and nothing shall be impossible for you. Now move forward. Choose your company as you would choose your name, for both are sacred, and both determine your future. If you would claim the fullness of prosperity, you must understand this one eternal fact. Your outer world is nothing but the mirrored image of your inner obedience. Obedience to what? To divine law, to infinite intelligence, to the spiritual laws that govern all material success, wealth, peace, and permanence. You cannot cheat divine law. You cannot bribe it, debate it, or defy it without cost. And no man ever escapes the law by cleverness or cunning. Every act, every thought, every motive is weighed, and the scale of justice is exact. It gives back what you give it, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. When I say you were created to prosper, I speak not from speculation, but from law. That which is in harmony with God's order must multiply, and that which is out of harmony must decay. Thus, when you think in harmony with truth, act in harmony with purpose, and live in harmony with faith, you attract all things needful for your success. Consider the law of sowing and reaping. It does not waver. It never fails. The farmer who sows wheat shall never reap thorns, and likewise the man who sows faith, decision, integrity, imagination, and perseverance cannot reap failure. The very fabric of nature is arranged to reward him. The man who fails, fails because he violated the law. either by ignorance, laziness, fear, or indifference. He may plead that the world was against him, but no man is defeated from the outside until he is conquered on the inside. He lost his power the moment he lost his alignment with eternal law. You may look upon the lives of men like Henry Ford, who took no pride in how the world doubted him, but took pride in obeying the inner command of definite purpose. His fortune was not luck, it was law. You may say Andrew Carnegie. You may call it coincidence, you may call it consequence, but the truth remains. No man rises to the heights of enduring prosperity who has not first aligned himself with the invisible, immutable laws that govern all abundance. These laws are divine. They are spiritual in origin, yet practical in application. If there is lack in your life, whether it be money, peace, or strength, it is not because God has withheld it from you, but because you have not yet learned to obey His law. You have not yet earned what you demand. For the universe does not operate on begging, but on cause and effect, and obedience is the cause of all effect. Prosperity is the visible fruit of invisible obedience. You do not pray for an oak tree and receive one without planting the seed. Likewise, you cannot receive wealth unless you plant the actions, the faith, and the service which draw it forth from the soil of spiritual law. God's system is not bribery, it is law. You do not plead with the sun to rise, it rises because it obeys law, and so must you. The golden rule, so often recited and so seldom understood, is not merely a suggestion for kindness, it is the law of return. When you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, you set into motion a boomerang of blessings which, by the law, must find their way back to you multiplied. To disobey this is to court spiritual bankruptcy. The man who cheats another has not yet understood that he cheats only himself. For the moment you deal unjustly with any soul, you place your own prosperity under arrest. You forfeit the trust of infinite intelligence, and you cut off your own source. You may gain silver for a season, but you lose gold for a lifetime. You were not created to suffer. That is not God's plan. You were created to multiply, to expand, to grow, to rise, so long as you remain faithful to the laws upon which all good is built. Every act of honesty, every hour of labor given freely, every thought of faith and definiteness is a deposit into your invisible account with infinite intelligence. And that account pays interest that no bank can match. What you give returns. What you withhold is withheld from you. If you speak the language of lack, lack will be fluent in your life. If you think in terms of fear, you will find fear waiting for you at every door. But if you speak with faith, act with purpose, and walk in obedience, life itself will kneel before you. Let me repeat this. Your prosperity is not an accident. It is the exact measurement of your alignment with divine law. You cannot plant weeds and expect wheat. You cannot idle and expect increase. You cannot deceive and expect deliverance. The world may praise cleverness, but heaven rewards obedience. There is no such thing as luck in the kingdom of success. There is only law. And once you learn that law, once you submit to its discipline, you can predict your prosperity as surely as you can predict the coming of daylight. Obedience to divine law is the highway, and the toll you pay is faith, decision, labor, and love. Consider the life of Andrew Carnegie. Was it chance that took a poor immigrant boy and made him the richest man in the world? Or was it obedience to a code of thought, a discipline of purpose, and a determination to serve others on a massive scale? He rendered service, he created value, and he acted in harmony with law. John D. Rockefeller tithed 10% of his income, long before he had an income worth $10. Why? Because he understood that giving is not a loss, but a lever. He obeyed the principle before he saw the result. That is faith. That is alignment. And that is why his cup overflowed. You must decide today to stop resisting the divine laws that are trying to prosper you. Stop resisting service. Stop resisting discipline. Stop resisting the still voice within that tells you to rise early, to go the extra mile, to clean your thoughts, to correct your speech, to write your chief aim, and to keep your promises. This is not religion. This is not philosophy. This is success science, divinely structured and spiritually sound. When you obey the law begins to obey you. It moves people, places, and opportunities in your favor. It opens doors that no man can shut. It multiplies effort into outcome. But you must begin today. You must begin now. Let not another grain fall through the glass of your life before you turn your will toward divine alignment. Say this aloud, and say it with conviction. I was created to prosper. I am the servant of God's law. I obey with joy. I rise with power. I attract all I need because I give all I am. Repeat it, feel it, live it. For your prosperity is not somewhere out there in the world. It is within. It is waiting behind the locked door of disobedience. And the key you hold is called decision. Make it now. Take one small action today that aligns with your higher calling, and keep taking them until the current of life carries you forward on the wings of divine law. You were never meant to struggle. You were never meant to be afraid of money, afraid of people, afraid of failure. Those are the lies taught by the drifters of the world, not the promises given to you by your Creator. You were meant to rise. You were meant to prosper. You were meant to expand and build and bless. The moment you recognize that prosperity is a spiritual responsibility, not merely a personal ambition, is the moment you become qualified to receive it. It is not a trophy. It is a test. And once you are trusted with it, you will never lose it again. I charge you now to go and write these words where you will see them morning and night. I am obedient to divine law. I give service daily. I think only thoughts of growth. I am here to prosper and to bless. And with that charge, begin your new life. Begin it with faith. Begin it with enthusiasm. Begin it with absolute confidence that the law will not fail you, for it never has and never will. Your reward is not somewhere in the sky nor buried in the earth. It is wrapped in your decisions, and today you decide to prosper. Today you obey. Today you rise. Let the whole world drift if it must. You will not. Let others speak of luck. You will speak of law. Let others chase shadows. You will build with light. For you know now and shall never forget, your prosperity is the proof of your obedience to divine law.